Welcome to this month's ADHD and Addiction Recovery Peer Support Group, hosted by the ADHD Empowerment Meetup community and the nonprofit Children and Adults with ADHD, or CHAD for short, of Greater Los Angeles. Hi, everyone. I'm Suzanne Sofos, our Executive Director and today's facilitator. As an adult with ADHD and a parent to an incredible son who's sharing the same journey, I want to welcome you all. I also want to welcome my co-host, Lynn. Feel free to introduce yourselves in the chat and let us know where you're joining us from and how ADHD and recovery touches your life. As an organization, our mission is to provide evidence-based education and peer support opportunities to the ADHD community. Today's group is just a part of our work to educate, support, and advocate for adults and children who are living with ADHD. We've been hosting peer support groups for almost a decade, and our long-running Sunday evening adult group was started years ago by myself and Jessica McCabe of How to ADHD. Those of us who run meetings are volunteers. Some of us work in this space, but we're here this morning as peers, not professionals, sharing what works for us to help one another. We also host online peer support groups for adults with ADHD, young women with ADHD, and parents of ADHD children, as well as weekly meetups for body doubling and co-working, and a journaling and meditation group. We also host a private Discord chat community. You can ask for the link to join in the chat. You'll find all of our upcoming events listed over in our meetup community. You can visit us at chadla.org for a link to join our meetup community. It's our mission to ensure that ADHD education and peer support are accessible to everyone, regardless of financial constraints. So while there's no fee to attend our events, as a nonprofit, we really do rely on donations and membership fees. If you resonate with our cause and can contribute, consider a $10 or $15 donation. You can find the link in the chat or use the QR code you see on the screen. You can also visit our website to learn more about becoming a member of CHAD. Here are a few guidelines to help you get the most out of the meeting. To let us know you'd like to speak, please use Zoom's raise hand feature. Generally, we'll call on people in the order that hands were raised. Please keep yourself muted until you've been called on. Feel free to use the chat feature at any time throughout our meeting, even when people are talking. It's a great way to get to know other members and share your thoughts, questions, and resources with other attendees. Please just keep your chat respectful and ask consent before direct messaging other attendees. We ask that you respect the confidentiality of who attends and what's shared in the group. If you're quiet, we encourage you to step up and contribute. If you speak a lot, consider taking a step back. Respect and support one another. That's why we're here. It's everyone's responsibility to make the group a safe place. When you have the urge to give advice, remember to speak from your own experience about your own truths using I statements like I feel or in my experience, rather than telling others what you think that they should do. Lastly, it's a-okay not to speak if you don't feel like it. So much can be gained just by listening. Before we start group, we'd like to share a brief evidence-based overview about ADHD. ADHD is a lifelong neurobiological condition affecting the brain's executive functions and delaying social emotional development. Executive function skills are crucial for accomplishing any task, and those are impaired in individuals with ADHD. This leads to challenges in self-regulation and self-management. For those of us with ADHD, coordinating our executive functions to provide the right attention, focus, and effort for a task can be really challenging. Studies show that if ADHD is not diagnosed and well treated, the related challenges can significantly decrease life expectancy by up to 13 years. However, studies also show life expectancy and outcomes are dramatically improved by two things: a proper diagnosis and a lifelong holistic treatment plan. ADHD impacts every area of our lives, so it makes sense that proper treatment should also touch multiple areas of our lives. A holistic treatment plan includes a combination of ADHD education, skills training, medical treatment, and peer support. I want to expand a little on the brain's executive functions, which are both delayed and impaired in individuals with ADHD. These functions are what help us manage and regulate our planning, decision-making, learning, judgment, emotions, and actions. So if you're doing something, you're using your brain's executive function skills. There are several models that illustrate the brain's executive functions. This particular one that you see on your screen is based on the work of Dr. Thomas E. Brown, and you can see all the different types of jobs that the brain has to manage to get things done. These executive functions come online at different times and in different combinations, depending on what we're trying to accomplish. For those of us with ADHD, coordinating our executive functions to provide the right attention, focus, and effort for a task is a process that's impaired. This leads us to have trouble in many different areas, including those you see listed on the left of your screen. Executive function development continues until sometime between the ages of 20 and 29, at which time we top out behind our neurotypical peers. Although our executive function is impaired and delayed, it can still be strengthened and developed. You can think of these skills like a muscle. So, along with medication or other treatments, receiving executive function coaching, occupational therapy, or creating systems for how you accomplish things can be key ways to strengthen your executive function skills, even long after our 20s. Current research points to a higher prevalence of ADHD among individuals who are seeking treatment for addiction compared to the general population. These estimates range from about 15 to 40%, depending on the study, the type of addiction treatment program, and the substances involved, as well as the methods of assessment. Some of the primary reasons cited for this increase include impaired executive functions. So, because individuals with ADHD often experience challenges with their executive functions, and those again are things like impulse control, planning, and decision making, those impairments can lead to impulsive behavior, which increase the likelihood of engaging in addictive behaviors without fully considering all the consequences. Self-medication. Some individuals with ADHD may turn to substances as a form of self-medication to cope with the challenges associated with their condition. And this can be true even in addiction issues that are not related to substances. Which brings us to the next one, dopamine dysregulation. ADHD is associated with lower levels of dopamine, a neurotransmitter that's linked to pleasure and reward. So to compensate for this deficiency, individuals with ADHD may be more prone to seeking activities or substances that provide an immediate dopamine boost, which makes us more susceptible to addiction. Substances like drugs or alcohol, and even things like gambling or other addictive behaviors can artificially elevate our dopamine levels. And then impulsivity, which we touched on a little bit, as well as co-occurring mental health conditions like anxiety, depression. Those further increase the risk of addiction, and they're often co-occurring with ADHD. So here's today's agenda, just so you have an idea of what to expect. For our first round, we'll share the topics we want to talk about. Each of you will share your name, location, and what topic you'd like to discuss today. You can either raise your hand to share aloud or type your topic in the chat. So go ahead and start raising your hands using the raise hand feature or typing into the chat now. For those of you who raise your hands, during this first part, you'll have 1 minute to talk when we call on you. Please do your best to keep your introduction brief, just your name, your location, and the topic you want to chat about. Once we get through this round, we'll start our discussion, and during that portion, you'll have 3 to 5 minutes for your shares. Please try to keep your shares on topic and on time so we can get to as many people today as possible. We're so glad you're here.